What if I told you that the Smith family you know, Rick, Morty, Beth, Summer, Jerry, are the least interesting versions of themselves? There are Mortys who became gods, Jerrys who became tyrants, and Summers who learned to pull her grandfather's strings. We're counting down the top most powerful, most dangerous, and most flat-out insane alternative versions of the Smiths ever created. Goddess Beth. Okay, this one actually pisses me off because she should be so much higher. Like when Jerry puts on that stupid helmet and accidentally creates a literal goddess version of his wife? Dude, she just waves her hand and Beth's creature thing gets completely obliterated. Not beaten up, not knocked down, just gone. And every single one of those perfect Jerry variants, they drop to their knees instantly. These are beings literally designed to be Beth's perfect match and they're like, nope, we're not worthy. But here's the thing that drives me crazy. We get like what, 20 seconds of this? 20 seconds of possibly the most powerful being in the entire show, and then she's just gone? Are you kidding me? This is a version of Beth that exists outside of science, outside of Rick's comprehension, outside of everything we understand about this universe. She's not from another dimension. She's not cybernetically enhanced. She's a freaking goddess that Jerry's brain somehow pulled out of thin air. And that's exactly why she's dead last. Because the show did nothing with her. Nothing. You can't just show me that Beth might secretly be the most powerful being in existence and then pretend it didn't happen. Mooch Jerry. And honestly, this one breaks my heart a little. Because when you first meet this guy, you're like, finally! A Jerry who figured it out. He's got the stubble. He's dimension hopping like some interdimensional hobo, stealing food from other Jerrys and just living. No Rick pushing him around, no Beth making him feel small. Just Jerry being free. And for like 5 minutes, I'm thinking this is it. This is the Jerry redemption arc we've been waiting for. But then, oh man, then you realize he's just running. He's literally doing what every Jerry fantasizes about, ditching the family, escaping the constant humiliation. Except he actually did it. And you know what's worse? His Beth remarried to some dude named Paul Fleischman. Paul Fleischman. Can you imagine being replaced by a Paul Fleischman? The thing that kills me about Mooch Jerry is he proves something devastating. Jerry's problems aren't the family's fault. They're Jerry's fault. Because here's a Jerry with zero restrictions, total freedom, traveling the multiverse. And what's he doing? Stealing sandwiches from himself. He's literally mooching off other versions of himself to pay some mob boss Jerry for portal access. He escaped everything that held him back and somehow became more pathetic. Yeah, he reconciles with his family at the end, helps some other Jerrys, whatever. That's exactly the problem. Even when Jerry breaks free from everything, he still ends up right back where he started. Needing validation, needing family, needing to matter to someone. Mooch Jerry isn't inspirational. He's proof that you can run across infinite dimensions and still never escape yourself. Here's the question that what does a Rick do when there's nothing left to fix? No enemy left to outsmart. Homesteader Rick answers it in the most un-Rick way possible. He puts the tools down and tries to live. A former Citadel cloning director, out on a dusty rock, raising corn, nursing animals, brewing blue fluid in mason jars like penance. And when the storm hits, when Clone Ricks raid Morty Town, he doesn't posture, he acts. He gets shot, crawls back arms up, and takes the fight straight into the belly of the rebuilt Citadel. He frees Morty clones. He refuses Boss Hogg's sleazy nostalgia pitch. And then he does the most backwards Rick thing I've seen. He spends his last move making sure Mortys get a chance at real lives. Not a character beat, an inversion. He inspires arcade Morty's movement, plants the seed that Mortys can grow up without a Rick, and then he's gone. He didn't change the universe. He changed a few boys' destinies and paid with everything. Quiet legend energy. Just not the loudest legacy. Here's the question that grabbed me. What happens when Morty finally becomes the one everyone else has to fear? In that one wild chapter, he does it. Drinks the celestial fruit, goes full cosmic, and suddenly words aren't metaphors anymore. They're weapons. He says a line, and reality obeys. Rockets turn to golf balls. Motherships become turkeys. Enemies get crushed by a catchphrase. For a second, he's past Rick. Way past. And then comes the twist I didn't expect. With total knowledge in his hands, he lets it go. Every single family member of his is extremely disappointed by his decision. And everyone mocks him and reminds him how many great things he could have done, which he unfortunately has not. This is a very interesting concept, and I hope we will see it happening in the series at some point in the future. I like the idea of Morty being superior to Rick and power, and Rick being dependent on it. I think it would make a great episode. Is the most tragic, beautiful, and existentially horrifying alternative version of the memory Rick. How do you even rank a ghost? How do you rank an echo of a man? A wound given consciousness? This isn't just another Rick from a different dimension. This is Rick CU-37's own trauma over losing Diane, weaponized into a separate being. And that is a special kind of twisted. He has all of Rick's genius, all of his drive, but he uses it to pursue the one thing the real Rick gave up on, a happy ending with the woman he loves. He will move heaven and earth. He will hop from mind to mind. He will manipulate and brainwash a version of his own daughter, driving her to suicide, all for a chance to hold his memory of it. And the most chilling part? He barely bats an eye at Beth's suffering. He sees it as a tactical advantage. He has all of Rick's selfishness, just wrapped in a more charming, tragic package. He is a memory of a copy of a copy, forever chasing a ghost. The version of Summer that should make every Rick in the multiverse check the locks on his garage twice. Night Summer. You think you know the hierarchy of power in this family? You think Rick is the unassailable God King of his own chaotic universe? Night Summer is living, breathing proof that the entire power structure is a fragile illusion. While evil Morty had to tear down the Citadel and bleed across dimensions to break free, Night Summer achieved the unthinkable. She didn't break her Rick, she tamed him. Let that sink in. She figured out how to control a force of nature. This isn't about building a better death ray or outsmarting him in a single adventure. This is about a fundamental rewriting of their relationship. She made control feel like cooperation. She turned the most stubborn, independent, and volatile being in existence into a compliant partner. And that is a different, more intimate kind of terrifying. It suggests a level of emotional intelligence and manipulative prowess that makes a planet-buster bomb look primitive. We see the result, we understand the staggering implications, but we don't get the brutal, step-by-step journey. We don't see the psychological warfare, the subtle manipulations, the moments where she had to break him just enough to rebuild him in a way that served her. Her power is largely hypothetical, a shadow on the cave wall that hints at a monster we never fully see. But make no mistake, that shadow is cast by the single most capable member of the Smith family. She's the dark potential sleeping in our Summer, the quiet, calculating genius that is slowly, inevitably, learning how to pull her grandfather's strings. This is it. The path not taken for Beth Smith, fully realized and armed to the teeth. While our Beth was wrestling with her own existential dread in a surgeon's scrubs, Space Beth was out there becoming a goddamn galactic rebel, taking down the Federation and saving worlds. She is everything regular Beth fantasized about being: competent, independent, a genuine hero who doesn't need anyone's permission, least of all Rick's. But here's the tragic, beautiful twist that earns her this spot. She's just as messed up as the one who stayed home. All that accomplishment, all that freedom, and she's still haunted by the same ghost. The desperate, unfulfilled need for a deadbeat dad's approval. She resents him more, if anything, because she had to become a legend without him. She's proof that you can run across the entire cosmos, but you can't outrun your own DNA. The most powerful moment isn't when she's blowing up Federation ships. It's when she stands beside her terrestrial double, and neither one knows or cares who's the clone. They just see another version of themselves who made a different choice. Space Beth didn't replace regular Beth. She completed her. She's the living, breathing what if that allows both of them to finally make peace with the lives they've led. She's not a villain. She's a resolution. A cathartic, laser-blasting, deeply flawed resolution that proves the strongest version of Beth Smith isn't the one who left or the one who stayed. It's the one who accepts that both were valid. Jerry Smith Prime is the first Jerry we meet and the main one until episode 6 of season 1. After Rick and Morty accidentally turn their world into the Cronenberg universe and abandon the family, Jerry is forced to step up. He protects Beth and Summer, and for a while actually grows into someone Beth could be proud of. But the wasteland twists him too. Finding a portal gun sends him feral, and he even tries to kill the replacement Summer. When Beth and Summer die, he hardens. He refuses to relocate, claims he's moved on. And when Morty briefly returns, Jerry doesn't try to keep him. He just tries to grab Morty's stuff and run, only to get caught. He tells Morty Rick was right. You have to let go. Pure apathy dressed as wisdom. And yet at the end, he does something rare for a Jerry. When he discovers the original Rick from his dimension plotting against Rick and Morty, he attempts a surprise attack to stop him. It fails, and Cronenberg Jerry is killed, but that moment of real selflessness closes his arc. Before evil Morty ever orchestrated his Citadel coup, this is the version that showed us the terrifying truth that a Morty without a Rick isn't just free. He's a power vacuum waiting to happen. Imagine a Morty who didn't just stumble into genius, but actively seized it, using his grandfather's abandoned tech not for adventure, but for absolute control. He looked at the multiverse and didn't see infinite possibilities. He saw an empire he wasn't invited to, and his vengeance forged a throne. While Evil Morty's motives are a complex tapestry of trauma and a desire for genuine freedom, Dictator Morty is driven by something far more primal and terrifying: pure, unadulterated spite. He isn't trying to escape the system, he wants to burn it down and rule over the ashes. He created a monster specifically to genocide all Ricks, a campaign of hatred so personal it turned him against his own family. This is the dark path of a Morty, who was corrupted not by a Rick's influence, but by the devastating void his absence left. He's the raw, unfiltered rage that Evil Morty would later refine into a cold, calculated escape plan. Dictator Morty is the angsty, brutal heavy metal to Evil Morty's symphonic masterpiece. Alright, let's talk about the biggest underdog in the entire Rick and Morty multiverse. And I'm not talking about some hidden badass we haven't met. I'm talking about the guy everyone's already written on. I'm talking about Doofus Rick. You know the one all the other Ricks make fun of, the one who's just kind of a dork. We all saw him on the show and thought, wow, what a loser, right? But what if that was the point? What if being a loser was his greatest strength? See, the comics went and revealed something that completely broke my brain. That whole nice, harmless Doofus Rick act, it's a cover. It's the perfect disguise. While every other Rick is busy showing off how smart they are and fighting for the spotlight, the Doofus Ricks were quietly building a secret society right under their noses. They called themselves the Ilum Ricks, and their master plan was absolutely brutal. They created this thing called a universe bomb, a weapon so powerful it doesn't just blow up a universe, it erases it completely. No do-overs, no new universe popping up, just nothing. But here's the really clever part. The bomb itself was almost secondary. Their real weapon was psychology. They knew how a Rick's mind works. They knew his ego would be his downfall. So they tricked this other Rick into thinking he could defuse the bomb. They gave him a fake clue. They let him have this big emotional moment with his Morty. And the whole time, they knew he was just playing out a script they had written. They let him think he was the hero, right up until the moment his entire universe blinked out of existence. And the final reveal just destroyed me. We find out the whole operation, this entire secret society that outsmarted a brilliant Rick. It was founded and run by the Doofus Ricks. The guys everyone treated like garbage, the ones nobody took seriously. It makes you look at the Doofus Rick from the show completely different, doesn't it? That awkward guy who just wants to be friends? What if he's not what he seems? What if he's just waiting? The comics end with them literally naming our Rick C-137 as their next target. So the next time you watch that episode and see Doofus Rick being made fun of, just remember, the greatest threat to a genius isn't a bigger genius. It's the person he never thought was worth looking at in the first place. And that might be the most terrifying lesson the multiverse has to offer. Hey, totally unrelated, but I've been working on something I think you'll actually find useful. It's called Doc2Data.online. It's this tool I built that turns PDFs and even scanned or handwritten stuff into perfect spreadsheets. No messy columns, no missing decimals. And here's the cool part. You can actually tell the AI exactly which columns to extract, and it keeps everything perfectly lined up the way you need it. Oh, and it's completely free and ad-free. It's been super handy for me, and I think a lot of you might like it too. Clean, accurate spreadsheets in seconds. Link in the description below. Doofus Jerry is from a dimension where he never met Beth and was never held back by Rick. He's a ruthless, power-hungry sociopath who used his ambition to become the richest, most powerful man on his Earth, owning everything from corporations to theme parks. His story kicks off when our regular Jerry, jealous of his life, uses Rick's portal to visit him. Upon learning that interdimensional travel exists, Doofus Jerry immediately offers to trade his entire empire for the portal gun. When our Jerry refuses, Doofus Jerry beats him up, steals the gun, and forces his dimension's Doofus Rick to send him to our Jerry's world. Once there, he becomes obsessed with our Beth and systematically takes over the family, charming Beth and Summer while threatening Morty into silence. He proves to be shockingly formidable, physically dominating our Rick and easily disarming multiple assassination attempts. His ambition soon targets the entire multiverse. He's captured and put on trial at the Citadel of Ricks, where the Ricks foolishly underestimate. In a brilliant move, he uses their own genetic restructurer to make his body emit pheromones that are poisonous to all Ricks, allowing him to kill several and take over the Citadel. He declares himself the absolute ruler of the Ricks, forcing them to build a giant golden statue of him. His reign is only ended when our Smith family, piloting a giant robot, lures his own giant statue robot into a portal where he is unexpectedly devoured and killed by a giant animal. He is a sociopath in a Jerry suit, and watching him effortlessly beat up our Rick and Morty, outsmart the entire Citadel, and turn their own genetic restructurer against them is one of the most unnerving things I've ever seen in this franchise. He is living proof that Jerry failures aren't from a lack of ability, but from a lack of ruthlessness. The architect of our Rick's suffering, the one who didn't just break a man, but forged a monster in the fires of his own nihilistic philosophy, Rick Prime. You have to understand, Rick Prime isn't just another villain. He is the original sin. He is the Rick who looked at a happy family, a version of himself content with a wife and daughter, and decided that happiness was a disease that needed to be cured. He didn't just murder Diane and Beth C-137 out of malice. He did it as a missionary in his twisted God coma mind. He was performing a mercy killing on Rick C-137's weakness. He is the living embodiment of the show's central question: what happens when the smartest man in the universe genuinely, truly believes that nothing matters? What makes my blood run cold about Rick Prime isn't his power, it's his purity. Our Rick wears his nihilism like a shield, a costume to protect the bleeding, grieving man under. Rick Prime is the nihilism. He is the empty heart of the central finite curve, given a face and a smirk. He abandoned his own family without a second thought, and then dedicated his existence to making sure no other Rick could have one. He stayed young and hidden for decades, always one step ahead, proving he might not just be philosophically superior, but technologically superior to every other Rick. He is the nightmare our Rick has been chasing his entire life, the proof that his cruelty isn't just a necessary evil, it's a choice, and Rick Prime made the choice to be a perfect, unstoppable monster. And here we are, the #1 spot, the being who isn't just an alternative version, but the ultimate rebellion, the one who looked at the entire structure of the Rick and Morty multiverse and saw it for what it was: a beautifully crafted, infinitely cruel cage. Ranking above every other insane family member, the most terrifying, brilliant, and game-changing character in this entire series is Evil Morty. Let that sink in. A Morty, the character designed by the Central Finite Curve to be a sidekick, a human shield, a walking paradox to hide a genius's brainwaves. He was supposed to be the punchline, but this one became the punchline's punchline. He didn't just want to escape his Rick, he wanted to escape the entire system that made Ricks into gods and Mortys into livestock. He saw the horrifying truth that across infinite realities, Jerry's and Beth's are forced together just to breed more Morty camouflage. And he didn't just get angry, he got efficient. He is the living embodiment of patient, calculated vengeance. While our Morty was getting traumatized by Plumbus's and Cronenberg's, Evil Morty was orchestrating a multi-season conspiracy that culminated in him becoming president of the Citadel, puppeteering a Rick, and tearing a hole in reality itself to escape the Rick-dominated prison of the Central Finite Curve. He didn't just beat the game, he found the source code and deleted the level. His yellow portal gun isn't just a different color, it's a middle finger to the entire established order, a symbol that he has gone somewhere beyond Rick's comprehension, to a reality where Ricks aren't the smartest beings in the universe. He deserves the #1 spot not just for his power, but for his profound, terrifying correctness. He is the only character who truly, fully won. Rick Prime is trapped in a petty cyclical war without Rick. Doofus Jerry was a contained threat, but Evil Morty, he saw the cancer of the Rick ego metastasizing across all of existence, and he performed the surgery himself. He is the revolution. He is the consequence. He is the terrifying, brilliant proof that the universe's ultimate monster wasn't a Rick at all. It was the grandson he created to be his slave. And that is why, forever and always, Evil Morty is the most insane, most impactful alternative version of the Smith family.